The space station hummed with life as creatures from across the galaxy gathered in the Grand Council chamber. Ambassador John Carter stood in the center, his eyes moving from one alien face to another. The room was full of beings he had only seen in reports and briefings, but now they were all here watching him. The chamber itself was a marvel. Walls made of crystal reflected light in rainbow patterns, and the air was kept at a perfect temperature for all species present. Floating platforms allowed creatures of different sizes to stand at eye level with each other. The whole place felt both ancient and advanced at the same time. John adjusted his dark blue suit and straightened his tie. These small human actions seemed to catch the attention of several aliens who tilted their heads or waved their tentacles in curiosity. He had learned that simple gestures could speak volumes in diplomatic meetings. To his right stood Maria Rodriguez, his assistant. She held a datapad tightly, her fingers barely shaking. John noticed this small sign of nervousness and gave her a quick nod. Maria had been with him for 3 years and he trusted her completely. She was smart, quick thinking, and had saved him from many diplomatic mistakes. The Krell delegate spoke first. His blue-green skin glistened under the station's lights, and his tentacles moved in patterns that showed growing impatience. "We have been here for 3 hours," he said, his voice gurgling like water over rocks. "Earth's military is small. Your ships are few. How can you claim to help defend against the Nexus threat?" John remained calm. He had expected this question. The Krell were known for their direct approach and their focus on military strength. They respected power above all else. Before John could answer, the Voxian senator rose to his full height. At 8 feet tall, with scales that shimmered like polished metal, he was an imposing figure. "The human speaks pretty words," the senator growled, "but words do not win wars. Show us your fleet's true strength." A murmur ran through the chamber. Other delegates shifted in their seats or on their platforms. The tension in the room grew thicker. The Talarian representative, a being made of pure energy contained in a vaguely human shape, flickered brightly. "Perhaps we should give the Earth ambassador a chance to speak," it said, its voice like wind chimes. "Though I doubt their primitive species has much to offer." John felt Maria tense beside him. He touched her, arm lightly, a signal to stay calm. This was exactly the reaction he had prepared for. Around the room, other species watched with various expressions of doubt, curiosity, or outright dismissal. The insectoid Zorathians clicked their mandibles together. The cloud-like mist dwellers swirled in agitation. The crystalline Nexus representative remained perfectly still in the corner, observing everything. John cleared his throat. The simple sound drew everyone's attention back to him. "Thank you all for your honest assessments," he said, his voice steady and clear. "You're right. Earth's fleet is smaller than most of yours. Our ships may seem primitive compared to your advanced vessels." He paused, letting his words sink in. Several delegates nodded, thinking he was admitting defeat. "But," John continued, "there's something you should know about humans. We don't rely on size or obvious strength. We rely on preparation." The Krell delegate's tentacles stopped moving. The Voxian senator's scales dimmed slightly. Even the energy being seemed to focus more intently. Maria stepped forward and handed John the datapad. Her hand was steady now. She knew what was coming, and her confidence had returned. John took the pad and pressed a button. The lights in the chamber dimmed, and a large holographic display appeared in the center of the room. Complex diagrams and tactical scenarios filled the air, glowing with soft blue light. "Let me show you," John said, his voice carrying a new weight, "exactly how prepared we are." The room fell completely silent. Every being present leaned forward, their earlier dismissal turning to sudden, sharp interest. They had no idea what was coming, but something in John's tone made them realize they had severely underestimated Earth and its people. John smiled slightly. The real meeting was about to begin. The holographic display filled the chamber with soft blue light. Complex diagrams floated in the air, showing star systems, battle formations, and technical blueprints. John Carter stood at the center of it all, completely calm while every alien eye focused on him. "Let's start with something simple," John said, touching the data pad. The display changed to show a detailed map of Krell space. Red dots appeared across their ocean worlds, marking military bases and defense stations. The Krell delegate's tentacles twitched nervously. "How do you have this information?" he demanded, his voice rising like a wave. John didn't answer directly. Instead, he zoomed in on one of the Krell's underwater cities. "Your people are masters of ocean warfare," he said. "Your submarines can dive deeper than any other species' vessels. Your pressure-resistant armor is legendary." The Krell delegate's skin turned a lighter shade of blue, showing pride. But John wasn't finished. "That's why we developed these," John continued, bringing up new images. The display showed small torpedo-shaped devices, micro-drones that can match your deepest diving capabilities. They carry EMP charges specifically tuned to your technology's frequency. The pride in the Krell delegate's posture vanished. His tentacles curled inward, a sign of deep concern. The Voxian senator stepped forward, his scales rattling. "Impressive toys," he sneered. "But our scales can deflect any energy weapon you possess." John nodded respectfully. "That's true. Your natural armor is remarkable." He changed the display again. This time it showed atmospheric readings and chemical formulas, which is why we wouldn't use energy weapons at all. The hologram demonstrated how certain gas compounds could weaken Voxian scales by changing the air pressure around them. The senator's confident posture crumbled as he realized the implications. "This is outrageous," shouted a voice from the back. It was the Zorathian ambassador, her insect-like features twisted in anger. "You dare threaten us with these plans?" John raised his hands in a calming gesture. "Not threats, Ambassador. Precautions. Every species here has military plans for dealing with others. We're simply being honest about ours." Maria stepped closer to John, ready to support him, if needed. She had seen how quickly diplomatic meetings could turn violent, especially when pride was wounded. The Talarian energy being pulsed with curiosity rather than anger. "Show us more," it chimed. "What plans do you have for my kind?" John hesitated for just a moment. The Talarians were pure energy, nearly impossible to harm with conventional weapons. But he touched the pad again, and new equations filled the air. "Quantum field disruptors," John explained. "They create pockets of space where energy cannot maintain coherent form." The mathematics were complex, but the meaning was clear. Humanity had found a way to potentially scatter a Talarian's very existence. The energy being's glow dimmed noticeably. "Fascinating," it whispered, "and terrifying." One by one, John revealed plans for each species present. The mist dwellers could be contained using specialized force fields. The rock-like granites could be weakened with specific sound frequencies. Even the mysterious void walkers, who existed partially outside normal space, could be tracked using quantum sensors. With each revelation, the mood in the chamber shifted. Anger turned to shock, then to something resembling respect mixed with fear. The Nexus representative, who had remained silent until now, finally moved. Its crystalline body reflected the holographic light as it glided forward. "You have plans for us as well?" it asked, its voice like breaking glass. John met its gaze steadily. "Yes." The chamber fell into complete silence. The Nexus were the most powerful species in the galaxy, considered nearly invincible. Even suggesting the possibility of defeating them was unprecedented. "Show us," the Nexus representative commanded. John looked around the room, seeing the mix of emotions on alien faces. Fear, respect, curiosity, and anger all blended together. He knew this moment would change everything. "Before I do," John said slowly, "I want everyone to understand something. These plans exist not because we want to use them, but because we never want to be helpless. On Earth we have a saying, hope for the best, prepare for the worst." He pressed the final button on his pad. The display shifted one last time, ready to reveal humanity's most closely guarded secrets. The holographic display shifted, revealing complex patterns of energy waves and quantum signatures. The Nexus representative stood perfectly still, its crystalline form catching and refracting the light from the display. Every being in the chamber held their breath, waiting to see what humanity had planned for the galaxy's most powerful species. The Nexus consciousness exists across multiple dimensions, John began, his voice steady. Your quantum-based minds can process information at speeds we can barely imagine. Your crystal bodies are nearly indestructible. The Nexus representative tilted its head, a gesture that sent rainbow patterns dancing across the walls. Continue, it said, its voice resonating through the chamber. John brought up a new set of diagrams. But every quantum system has a resonance frequency. Every crystal has a harmonic point where it becomes vulnerable. He paused, letting the words sink in. We call it Plan Epsilon 12. The display showed a network of satellites positioned throughout known space. Each one emitted specific frequencies designed to interfere with Nexus quantum patterns. The math was elegant and terrifying in its simplicity. For the first time in recorded history, a Nexus being showed visible distress. Its crystalline surface developed tiny cracks that quickly healed, but everyone had seen them. This is impossible, the Nexus representative said, its voice losing some of its usual harmony. No species has ever understood our quantum nature well enough to threaten you, John finished. We didn't set out to threaten anyone. We simply studied. We observed. We prepared. Maria moved to stand beside John, adding her own calm presence to the moment. She had helped develop many of these plans, spending countless nights analyzing alien technologies and biological systems. The Krell delegate spoke up, his earlier anger replaced by something like awe. How long have you been preparing these plans? John smiled slightly. Since the day we discovered we weren't alone in the universe. Humans have always been good at imagining worst-case scenarios. The Voxian senator's scales had lost their shine completely. But the resources required, the secrecy, how did you manage it? We're a species that sent people to our moon using computers less powerful than the devices in our pockets today, John replied. When we're motivated, we find ways. The chamber erupted in whispers and clicks and energy pulses as the various species discussed among themselves. Some were angry, others frightened, but many showed signs of newfound respect. The Talarian being floated closer to John. You realize what you've done here today? You've shown that Earth is either the most dangerous species in the galaxy or the most paranoid. Maybe both, John admitted. But consider this. Despite having all these plans, we've never used them. We've never attacked first. We've never betrayed an alliance. The Zarathian ambassador's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. You could have kept these plans secret. Why reveal them now? John gestured to the entire chamber. Because the Nexus threat is real and it's growing. We need to work together, and that requires honesty. You needed to know that we're not just asking for help. We're offering our own strength in return. The Nexus representative had regained its composure. You play a dangerous game, human. Knowledge of weaknesses can lead to preemptive strikes. Only if you see us as enemies, John countered. We prefer to see you as potential allies. Strong allies who happen to have backup plans just like we do. A long silence fell over the chamber. Species that had dismissed humans as primitive were now reconsidering everything they thought they knew. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted in the span of a single meeting. The Mist Dweller delegation swirled into a tighter formation, their spokesperson's voice echoing like wind through a canyon. We must discuss this among ourselves. These revelations change everything. Other delegations murmured agreement. The meeting that had started with condescension toward humanity now buzzed with urgent conversations about Earth's true capabilities. John stood calmly in the center of it all, knowing that the hardest part was still to come. Revealing the plans was just the beginning. Now he had to convince these species that humanity's paranoia could be their salvation. The chamber remained tense as the alien delegations whispered among themselves. John Carter watched them carefully, reading their body language and energy patterns. He knew the next few minutes would determine Earth's future in the galactic community. Ambassador Carter, the Krell delegate finally spoke, his tentacles moving in slow, deliberate patterns. You have shown us plans to defeat each of our species. But what about combinations? What if several of us united against Earth? John nodded, appreciating the question. An excellent point. He touched his data pad again, and the holographic display transformed into a complex web of interconnected strategies. Plan Omega-3, John announced, designed for a Krell-Voxian alliance. The display showed how Earth's oceanic countermeasures could be deployed simultaneously with atmospheric modifications. The beauty is that these systems complement each other. The atmospheric changes that weaken Voxian scales also create pressure differentials that disrupt Krell submarines. The Krell and Voxian representatives exchanged uneasy glances. Plan Sigma-7, John continued, addresses a potential Talarian-Zorathian partnership. New diagrams appeared showing how quantum disruptors could be synchronized with sonic weapons to affect both energy beings and insectoid hive minds simultaneously. Maria stepped forward with additional data. We have contingencies for every possible combination of species present, she explained. Triple alliances, quadruple alliances, even scenarios where all of you unite against us. The Granite Ambassador, who had remained silent until now, rumbled like an earthquake. This level of preparation is unprecedented. How many humans worked on these plans? Thousands, John replied. Scientists, military strategists, xenobiologists, psychologists. We even had artists and writers involved. Artists? The Talarian being pulsed with confusion. To imagine scenarios our scientists couldn't, Maria explained. Humans have a saying, truth is stranger than fiction, but fiction helps us prepare for strange truths. The Voidwalker delegate materialized more fully, its form shifting between dimensions. Show us your most extreme scenario. What happens if every species here attacks Earth simultaneously? John hesitated. This was the moment he had been dreading. Are you sure you want to see that? Show us, multiple voices demanded. John pressed a sequence on his pad. The display went dark for a moment, then erupted with new information. Plan Omega Prime, he said quietly. The Doomsday Protocol. The hologram showed Earth's solar system transformed into a fortress. Hidden weapon platforms emerged from asteroids. Jupiter's moons revealed massive energy collectors. Mars displayed underground bunkers stretching across the planet. Phase 1, John explained, involves retreating all human assets to our home system. Phase 2 activates automated defense grids, capable of targeting multiple species-specific weaknesses simultaneously. The display showed waves of specialized weapons deploying from hidden bases. Quantum disruptors, atmospheric processors, sonic cannons, and technologies the aliens couldn't even identify. Phase 3, John's voice grew even quieter, is mutually assured destruction. If Earth falls, automated systems release self-replicating nanites programmed to target every known species' biological or energy signatures. The chamber fell into stunned silence. Even the Nexus representative seemed shaken. These nanites, the Mist Dweller asked, their voice barely a whisper. They would spread throughout the galaxy? Yes, John confirmed. They're designed to use stellar winds and quantum tunneling to reach every inhabited system within 100 years. That's genocide, the Zorathian ambassador clicked in horror. That's deterrence, Maria corrected. These systems only activate if Earth's population drops below 10% of current levels. They're not weapons of conquest, they're insurance policies. The Nexus representative moved closer to John. You would destroy the galaxy rather than accept defeat? John met its crystalline gaze. We would ensure that anyone who destroys us doesn't get to enjoy their victory. But more importantly, we hope the very existence of these plans means they'll never be needed. The alien delegates looked at each other with new understanding. Earth hadn't just prepared for defense, they had prepared for the ultimate stalemate. Now, John said, deactivating the doomsday scenario, shall we discuss working together against the real threat? The one that endangers all of us? The mood in the chamber had completely transformed. Fear and respect had replaced condescension. Earth had earned its seat at the table, not through military might but through the depths of its preparation. The atmosphere in the chamber had changed completely. Where there had been dismissal and condescension, now there was wariness and respect. John Carter stood at the center, feeling the weight of every alien gaze upon him. The Talarian energy being pulsed with a new pattern, one that Maria recognized as deep thought. "Ambassador Carter," it chimed, "you speak of working together against a common threat, yet you've just shown us that you've prepared to destroy us all." John nodded slowly. "That's true, and I won't apologize for it. On Earth, we have a history full of betrayals and surprise attacks. We learned the hard way that being prepared is better than being sorry." The Voxian senator's scales had regained some of their shine. "Your species seems to live in constant fear." "Not fear," Maria corrected, stepping forward. "Caution. There's a difference." John gestured to the holographic display which now showed a star map of the galaxy. "Let me show you something else." Red dots began appearing across the map, spreading like a virus. "This is the Nexus threat we're all facing. Not the Nexus people here with us today, but the corrupted faction that's consuming star systems." The Nexus representative straightened. "The Devourers," it said, its crystalline voice carrying sadness. "They were once part of us, but their hunger for power corrupted their quantum consciousness." "Exactly," John continued. "In the past 50 years, they've consumed 17 inhabited systems. Their growth is exponential. Our projections show that within 2 centuries, they'll control half the galaxy." The display shifted to show various battle scenarios. "Now, let me show you our plans for fighting them. Plans that require all of us working together." New holograms filled the chamber. These weren't plans for destruction, but for cooperation. Combined fleet formations, shared technology, coordinated defense networks. The Krell's underwater expertise combined with Voxian atmospheric control creates perfect planetary defense systems, John explained. Talarian energy manipulation enhanced by Nexus quantum computing gives us weapons that can actually harm the Devourers. The alien delegates leaned forward, their earlier hostility forgotten as they studied the collaborative strategies. "You see," John said, "we didn't just plan for fighting you. We planned for fighting alongside you." The Zorathian ambassador's mandibles clicked in what might have been appreciation. "You prepared for every scenario, even friendship." "Especially friendship," Maria added, "because that's the scenario we prefer." The Granite ambassador rumbled, thoughtfully. "These cooperative plans are even more detailed than your contingency plans against us." John smiled. "Of course they are. We spent 10 times more resources on cooperation strategies than on conflict scenarios. We just showed you the conflict plans first to get your attention." A ripple of surprise moved through the chamber. The Mistdwellers swirled in patterns of confusion. "You manipulated us?" "We showed you what you expected to see," John corrected. "You came here thinking humans were weak and unprepared. We needed to change that perception before you'd take our cooperation proposal seriously." The Nexus representative moved closer, its crystalline structure humming. "Clever. You used our own prejudices against us." "And now that we have your attention," John said, bringing up more detailed cooperation plans, "let's talk about how we actually save the galaxy." The mood shifted again. Aliens who had been ready to dismiss Earth now studied the cooperation plans with intense interest. The Krell delegates' tentacles waved excitedly as he saw how his people's technology could be integrated with others. The Voxian senator nodded approvingly at atmospheric shield designs. "These plans," the Talarian being pulsed, "they're brilliant, but they require trust." "Yes," John agreed. "They do. That's why we showed you our contingency plans first, so you'd know that our trust isn't blind. We trust, but we verify. We hope for peace, but we prepare for war," Maria added, "and now you know that betraying that trust would be unwise." The chamber buzzed with new energy. Fear had transformed into respect, and respect was transforming into the beginnings of genuine cooperation. "Shall we begin?" John asked, gesturing to the cooperation plans. "The Devourers grow stronger every day we delay." One by one, the alien delegates moved forward, ready to engage in real planning for the first time. Earth had earned its place not just through strength, but through strategic wisdom. The alien delegates gathered around the holographic display, studying the cooperation plans with newfound enthusiasm. John Carter watched as former adversaries began discussing strategy together, their earlier hostility forgotten in the face of a common enemy. The Krell delegate's tentacles danced as he pointed to a section of the plan. "These underwater quantum relays could be enhanced with our bioelectric fields. We could create a detection network spanning entire ocean worlds. And our atmospheric processors could protect those relays from orbital bombardment," the Voxian senator added, his scales gleaming with excitement. John exchanged a satisfied look with Maria. This was exactly what they had hoped for. The Nexus representative approached John, its crystalline form reflecting the holographic light. "Ambassador Carter, I must ask. These plans for fighting the Devourers, they're remarkably detailed. How long have you been working on them?" John smiled. "Since we first heard whispers of their existence. About 20 years ago." 20 years? The Talarian being pulsed with surprise. "But you've only been part of the galactic community for 15, Maria stepped in. "We had long-range telescopes and quantum sensors before we had faster-than-light travel. We saw the signs of the Devourer's expansion and started preparing." The Zerathian ambassador clicked her mandibles thoughtfully. "You prepared to fight a threat you hadn't even officially encountered yet?" "It's what humans do," John said simply. "We see a potential problem, we start working on solutions, even if that problem might never reach us." The Granite ambassador rumbled with what might have been laughter. "Your species is either incredibly wise or incredibly paranoid." "Why not both?" Maria replied with a grin. As the discussions continued, John noticed something remarkable happening. The aliens were not just accepting Earth's plans, they were improving them. Each species brought unique insights and capabilities to the table. The Mist Dwellers suggested using their natural ability to exist in multiple states of matter to create early warning systems. The Void Walkers offered their dimensional shifting technology to create escape routes for civilian populations. "This is incredible," the Talarian being chimed. "These combined strategies are far more effective than anything any of us could create alone." John nodded. "That's always been our point. Diversity isn't just a nice idea. It's a strategic advantage." The Nexus representative turned to face the entire assembly. "I propose we formalize this cooperation, create a joint task force to implement these plans immediately." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber, but the Voxian senator raised a clawed hand. "Wait, there's something else we need to address." The chamber fell silent. John tensed slightly, wondering if this was where things would fall apart. "These contingency plans against each of us," the senator continued. "What happens to them now?" John had been waiting for this question. "They remain in place," he said firmly. "But," he held up a hand to forestall objections, "we're willing to share them with you." Shocked silence filled the chamber. "You would reveal your own weaknesses?" The Krell delegate asked, his tentacles frozen in surprise. "Not our weaknesses," John corrected. "Our strategies. If we're truly going to trust each other, it has to go both ways. You'll know exactly what we've planned, and you can develop countermeasures. It keeps everyone honest," Maria added. "On Earth, we call it mutually assured trust. If everyone knows everyone else's capabilities, it actually promotes peace." The Nexus representative's crystalline structure hummed with approval. "This is unprecedented. No species has ever voluntarily shared their strategic secrets." "Well," John said, "humanity has always been fond of doing things differently." The chamber erupted in discussion. Some delegates were skeptical, others excited, but the momentum was clearly shifting toward cooperation. "There's one more thing," John announced, raising his voice above the chatter. The room quieted again. We've prepared data packets for each of your species. They contain not just our plans, but our entire history of strategic thinking. Sun Tzu's Art of War, Clausewitz's Principles, game theory, everything. You would share your strategic wisdom? The Zarathian ambassador clicked in amazement. Knowledge grows when shared, John replied. And we're going to need every advantage against the Devourers. The chamber hummed with activity as data packets were transmitted to each delegation. Alien representatives studied humanity's strategic wisdom with intense focus, their various forms of expression showing mixtures of fascination and respect. The Gao, Talarian being, was the first to speak after reviewing the materials. This Sun Tzu, his principles are timeless. Know yourself and know your enemy, and you need not fear the result of 100 battles. We have similar wisdom, but never expressed so simply. John nodded. That's why we wanted to share it. Sometimes, the most powerful ideas are the simplest ones. The Krell delegate's tentacles waved excitedly as he accessed another file. And this game theory, it explains so much about conflict and cooperation. Why did you not share this knowledge earlier? Would you have listened? Maria asked gently. Before today, most of you saw us as primitive newcomers. The Voxian senator's scales dimmed slightly in what might have been embarrassment. You are correct. We would have dismissed it as the musings of a lesser species. The Nexus representative suddenly straightened, its crystalline form pulsing with urgency. I'm receiving priority communications from our homeworld. The Devourers have begun moving toward the Outer Rim colonies. The chamber fell silent. The theoretical threat had become immediate reality. John moved quickly to the central display. Show us the tactical situation. The hologram shifted to display real-time data from the threatened region. 3 solar systems glowed red, indicating Devourer presence. Refugee ships streamed away from the danger zone. They're moving faster than our projections suggested, Maria observed, her voice tight with concern. The Granite ambassador rumbled. We must act now, but our individual fleets are scattered across the galaxy. John looked around the chamber at the assembled aliens. This was the moment of truth. Then it's time to test our cooperation plans. We have a combined fleet strategy ready. The question is, are you willing to trust each other enough to implement it? The delegates looked at each other uncertainly. Old rivalries and suspicions still lingered beneath the surface. The Zarathian ambassador stepped forward, her mandibles clicking decisively. The Hive Worlds will commit our fleet to the joint command structure. We have seen enough today to trust in this alliance. One by one, other species followed suit. The Krell, the Voxians, even the traditionally isolated Voidwalkers pledged their forces to the combined fleet. The Nexus representative was last to speak. The true Nexus will join this alliance. We have a special responsibility to stop our corrupted brethren. John felt a surge of hope. Then let's begin. Maria. Initiate. Protocol Unity. Maria worked quickly at her datapad. Around the chamber, holographic displays showed fleet movements beginning across the galaxy. Ships from different species started converging on strategic positions. The combined fleet will form up at these coordinates, John explained, highlighting a region of space. Each species will contribute their unique capabilities. Krell submarines for planetary defense, Voxian atmospheric ships for aerial superiority, Talarian energy weapons for long-range engagement. The Mist Dweller delegation swirled with concern. But who will command this fleet? No species has ever led such a diverse force. John smiled. That's where human flexibility comes in. We propose a rotating command structure. Each species leads for one cycle, with decisions requiring majority agreement from the Command Council. And if there's disagreement during battle, the Granite ambassador asked. Then the emergency protocols kick in, Maria explained. AI systems we've developed will analyze all proposed strategies and select the one with the highest probability of success, regardless of which species suggested it. The Talarian being pulsed thoughtfully. You've thought of everything. We try to, John admitted. But we're also ready to adapt. No plan survives contact with the enemy unchanged. As the preparations continued, John noticed something remarkable. The aliens were no longer treating each other with suspicion. They were working together, sharing information freely, building on each other's ideas. The Voxian senator approached John privately. "Ambassador Carter, I must admit something. When we came here today, some of us had discussed forcing Earth to share its technology. Now I see how foolish that would have been." John nodded gravely. "And now you know we were prepared for that possibility too." Days turned into weeks as the combined fleet took shape. John Carter stood on the command deck of the Alliance's flagship, watching as ships from 17 different species moved in perfect formation. The sight would have been impossible just months ago. Maria joined him at the viewport. "Status report from all sectors. The Devourers have paused their advance. Our analysts think they're confused by our unified response." "Good," John said. "Confusion is a weapon too." The Nexus representative materialized beside them, its crystalline form now showing new patterns that indicated trust. "The Joint Command. Structure is functioning beyond expectations. Your rotation system prevents any single species from dominating decisions." John smiled. That was the idea. Equal partnership, not hierarchy. An alert sounded. The holographic display showed Devourer ships beginning to move again, but their formation was erratic, uncertain. "They don't know how to respond to our combined tactics," the Krell Admiral reported through the comm system. "Our integrated defense grid is unlike anything they've encountered." The Voxian senator, now serving as tactical coordinator, added, "They're probing for weaknesses but finding none. Every gap in one species' defenses is covered by another's strengths." As the fleets engaged, the true power of cooperation became clear. Talarian energy weapons weakened Devourer shields, allowing Voxian atmospheric fighters to strike critical systems. Krell submarines emerged from hidden positions to attack from unexpected angles. Zorathian hive mind coordination kept the entire fleet moving as one organism. "It's working," Maria breathed, watching the tactical display. "They're actually retreating." But John remained focused. "Don't celebrate yet. Remember the contingency plans." Sure enough, the Devourers suddenly changed tactics. They began to emit quantum disruption waves, trying to separate the Allied fleet. "Implement protocol harmony," John ordered. The Nexus ships moved forward, using their natural quantum resistance to shield the other vessels. Human-designed adaptive algorithms adjusted everyone's shields in real time, maintaining fleet cohesion. The battle raged for hours. Each time the Devourers adapted, the Alliance adapted faster. The combination of human strategic planning and alien technological capabilities proved unbeatable. Finally, the Devourer fleet began a full retreat, but as they withdrew, their commander sent a message that appeared on all screens. "You have won today through unity." The corrupted Nexus voice resonated. "But unity is fragile. We will wait. We will watch. And when you fragment, we will return." The transmission ended. The Allied fleet had won its first major victory. In the aftermath, the delegates gathered once more in the council chamber. The mood was different now. Celebratory but also solemn. "We did it," the Talarian being pulsed. Together, the Granite Ambassador rumbled in agreement. But the Devourer spoke truth. "Unity is fragile." John stood. "That's why we need to make it permanent. I propose we formalize this alliance, create a galactic council with equal representation from all species." "And what of your contingency plans?" the Zorathian ambassador asked. "Do they remain active?" John nodded. "They do. As do yours, I assume. But now they serve a different purpose. They remind us why cooperation is better than conflict." The Nexus representative moved to the center of the chamber. "I propose we name this alliance after the human concept that brought us together, the Strategic Trust Initiative." Unanimous agreement followed. As the formalities concluded, Maria approached John quietly. "Think it will last?" she asked. John watched the alien delegates talking, laughing, planning together. "It has to. We've shown them that our paranoia, our over-preparation, our tendency to plan for every scenario, these aren't weaknesses. They're tools for building trust." The Voxian senator overheard and approached. "Ambassador Carter, I have one final question. Do you have contingency plans for this alliance failing? John smiled. Of course we do, but we also have plans for it, succeeding beyond our wildest dreams. And those are the plans we're focusing on now. As the council chamber emptied, John looked at the star map one last time. The galaxy looked different now, not a collection of separate empires, but a community united by shared purpose and mutual understanding. Humanity had found its place among the stars, not through force or technology, but through the simple power of being prepared for anything, including peace.